So let's begin.
Yeah, Rahul, are we good to go, or we have the start practice session still?
What, sir?
No, I'm asking Rahul.
We're live. We're live.
You're live. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, let's start.
Okay. Technology has surpassed human expectations and is lifting the benchmark of possibilities day by day. This is exactly what the participants showcased in the first day of TransTech. A day filled with informative speeches by the dignitaries and excellent papers presented with a spirit of healthy competition. I hope everyone is recharged, ready, and filled with enthusiasm as today we move forward. And I welcome you all to the second day of TransTech 2021.
Good morning and season's greetings to you all. Like every year, Tolani Maritime Institute Engineers Pune branch and the Institution of Engineers Pune Local Center invites revered personalities in the maritime field for a one-of-a-kind exposure to their insights. This year, TransTech 2021 has the honor to have Captain Gajanan Karanjikar, President of All India Maritime Pilots Association, as our guest speaker for today's proceedings. I request you all to welcome our guest speaker with your reactions in the chat box.
The Tolani Maritime Institute was established in 1998 and since then has never failed to produce quality mariners, owing to the committed faculty members and the supporting staff. It started as a small-scale institution of a mere 100 cadets, but now has turned into a premier institute of merchant marine studies, recognized not only in India, but overseas as well. Here on the screen, we present to you the corporate video of the legacy. Can we please have the corporate video?
The sea might be as violent as it can be, the water infinite, and the waves intimidating. But all this become insignificant when a mariner dons his uniform. Conquering the high seas is no mean feat. Only those with a mighty heart and a steely resolve can accomplish that. Such extraordinary seafarers are made in Tolani Maritime Institute, located in Induri at Talegaon near Pune. The sprawling 100-acre campus is an endeavor by the Tolani Group with an illustrious tradition of establishing and managing higher education institutions. Dr. N.P. Tolani, Chairman, Tolani Group of Companies and founder of Tolani Maritime Institute, strongly believes in higher education and its advantages. He credits his father for encouraging him to provide higher education in the country.
I got the bug of education from my father, and it has continued ever since.
Our vision at TMI is to be the preferred maritime education and training provider in the industry, meeting the highest global standards.
This institute is one of the largest maritime educational centers, offering Grade 1 rated marine engineering and nautical science degree programs, postgraduate programs and other courses in collaboration with foreign universities as well. The degree courses are approved by the Directorate General of Shipping, Government of India, MLIT, Japan and MPA, Singapore. The BTech Marine Engineering BSc Nautical Science degrees and the Diploma in Nautical Science are presented by the esteemed Indian Maritime University. There are hosts of other short-term courses like Electrotechnical Officers course, command and control course, and other safety-related courses.
At TMI, our focus is to achieve excellence in shipping and maritime techniques.
But what makes this possible and what creates world-class mariners? It is the holistic impact of the state-of-the-art campus and the overall infrastructure that renders the Institute matchless. The Institute sits in the laps of rural nature, which has enhanced its charm. The Institute benefits aesthetically and academically thanks to a beautiful lake in its midst. The lovely meditation garden on the hill keeps a vigil on the lake. Swimming is an integral part of the training, which is adjacent to the clubhouse. Outdoor sports like football, cricket, basketball, volleyball, athletics, squash, etc., and other indoor games are made available on this campus. The Institute has 4 well-equipped compact catamaran sailboats to give the students a glimpse of life on high seas.
Together we share some really nice moments of our life.
With the aim to develop sturdy and healthy mariners, comfortable hostel facility serves them in the best way. The hostel buildings have television rooms, activity areas, and well-equipped gyms. The Institute features excellent academic facilities. The Institute has well-equipped laboratories for demonstrating and teaching the principles of material testing, mechanics, hydraulics, electric control systems, electronic equipment, and electric machinery. The world-class engineering systems on the campus, like Prabhu Vidya, High Voltage Lab, Hydraulic Lab, Hazard Simulation Lab, Full Mission Simulators, etc., fulfill the requirements of aspiring mariners. Can you imagine, some of these systems are almost a replica of the real shipboard equipments. This is an Equal Opportunity Institute. The students are offered merit and need-cum-merit scholarships worth over $160,000 per year. Additionally, many shipping companies also offer merit-based scholarships.
As a student and an aspiring mariner, this is the most amazing and apt place I could have been.
But the linking bridge between all these elements of the Institute and the students is the faculty.
The values that we imbibe here is attitude, skill and knowledge that is asked at TMI. These values along with safety come together to create successful mariners.
The skilled and experienced faculty at Tolani Maritime Institute is guiding light for the proud future mariners.
The courses we offer at TMI for the undergraduate programs allow the students to identify, explore and understand areas where his or her true passion lies, the exciting profession of seafaring.
The professional and qualified full-time faculty leaves no stone unturned to instill pride, integrity, determination, humbleness and in-depth knowledge about shipping and maritime operations in the would-be marine officers. After all, it takes more than just the love for swimming to make you equal when the sea presents its worst best.
TMI has a glorious legacy of training the brightest aspiring seafarers.
But why do students go through these 4 years of grueling training? To tame the seas and for admiration, respect and honor which come with donning the uniform adorned with stars. It is a job worth toiling for. Some of these students go on to become the guardians of India's formidable coastline. The innovative internship cum placements program at the Institute gives its students an edge over the others. The recruiting companies have no second thoughts on hiring students from the Institute. A majority of students enjoy a permanent employment with some of the top-notch national and international shipping companies.
I believe that this is where the bright future of shipping and maritime industry in India is assured.
The journey, though, definitely does not end here. It is still a long way to go, and they have to prove their mettle. The canvas is huge, the battle challenging. It has been rightly said that you can never cross the ocean unless you have the courage to lose sight of the shore. That will surely not be a tough task for graduates from this institute. They have the strong foundation of training at one of the best maritime institutes in India. Any ocean, any ship is easy to fathom when your alma mater is Tulani Maritime Institute.
Well, I guess that reminded all of us the beautiful days we spent on campus and how much we yearn to go back. To be honest, one can never get enough of the sprawling infrastructure back at TMI. I would now request Dr. Captain Krishnamurthy Iyer, our esteemed principal at TMI, to convey the welcome address.
Our chief guest, Captain Gajanan Karanjikar, pilot, President of All India Pilots Association, also the head of Coastal Shipping, Sequel Logistics Limited, and an expert on blue economy. Captain Barve, Mr. Ashish Mata from Class NK, Mr. Chandakar, Chairman of Institute of Marine Engineers, Pune branch, the judges for the paper presentation, Mr. Arvind Kumar, Mr. Anant Thakur, and a colleague, Mr. Shailendra Kumar, members of a governing council, members of the academic council, students and faculties from various colleges, my colleagues, cadets, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning and a warm welcome to all of you. Had it not been for the pandemic, I would have had the pleasure of receiving all of you at TMI. The pandemic has taught us to conduct various seminars online. We welcome Captain Gajanan Karanjikar. Sir, in spite of your busy schedule, you could find time to give the keynote address. We are grateful that you'll be giving a lecture on blue economy, a topic which has been very dear to you. We're hoping to learn from your vast experience. Thank you, sir, for coming all the way and agreeing to give this lecture. I welcome the students from various colleges who will be presenting the papers. Had it not been for the pandemic, we would have had the opportunity of welcoming all of you in our campus. Transec was started with the idea of permitting students from various engineering colleges to present their skills in paper presentation and making of models. The idea of Transec was from various colleges to interact with our students. And it is only by interaction all of us learn. Every college has its own strength, and this is exhibited during the paper presentation. This event is organized in association with the Institute of Marine Engineers, Pune, and the Institution of Engineers, Pune Local Center. This year's topic has been efficient shipping in clean oceans. This topic is appropriate for protecting oceans. India is collaborating with other countries to develop clean and healthy ocean and sustainable use of ocean resources and the growth of blue economy. Sustainable development is the order of the day, and development must occur without damaging the environment. We are to consider sustainable use of ocean resources for economic growth, improved livelihood and jobs while preserving health of marine and coastal ecosystem. Our Prime Minister has stated, to me, the blue chakra or the wheel of India's national flag represents the potential of blue revolution or the ocean economy. When we look at the sustainable development, there are two very important points all of us have to look. One is no waste and one is no emission. So the cadets, when I say no waste, even a little bit of food, what you're wasting, try to avoid it. Even a waste of paper, instead of wasting, see if it can be recycled. All the items can it be recycled so that we keep the waste to minimum. So that is what is basically sustainable development, which each of us can follow. I would like to compliment Mr. Anurudh Kumar, the convener for TransTech, and his team for planning very well and organizing this event. I'm sure after the paper presentation, we'll all walk away enriched with a better understanding of how to keep the environment clean. I look forward to a rich and lively discussion. Once again, a warm welcome to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your humble words. The students at TMI are always filled with positivity and enthusiasm when TransTech is around the corner. Like all years, this year also, a video making contest was held, which saw multiple entries. Amongst these, the best one was made by Cadet Deepan Srivastav and was chosen to be the official video for the Technical Symposium, TransTech 2021. Can we please have the video?
Fantastic. I think Dipanj deserves a round of applause for a video well made. Feel free to flood the chat box, guys. Okay. I would now like to take the opportunity to introduce our guest speaker, Founder President, All India Maritime Pilots Association, Captain Gajanan Karanjikar. Captain Karanjikar is a multimodal transport expert, blue economy activist, and a visiting faculty at IIM. He sailed as a master mariner with ASP Ship Management Limited, then joined Mercator Lines as a marine manager and served at different ranks, including general manager. He is currently the head of Coastal Shipping Seacal Logistics Limited. He has published several articles and is currently writing a book on ancient maritime seafaring and another one on blue economy. Can't wait to read the books. He has spoken on several notable platforms such as IMU Kochi, ICS, and FICCI, to name a few. Sir, it is really an honor to have you here with us today. To digress a bit, Captain Karanjikar and his colleagues at All India Maritime Pilots Association conduct several technical webinars on varying topics. In fact, sir, your colleague, Captain Sanjeev Pandey, conducted a webinar on pilot ladder safety with the students and faculty of TMI in October last year, and we learned a lot through that webinar. Today, of course, Captain Karanjikar will be talking about an all-encompassing topic, blue economy. So what exactly is the blue economy? The blue economy is, well, I think we should have Captain Karanjikar explain it, right? He's the expert. Sir, the stage is all yours.
Namaskar. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Namaskar. Good morning. Thank you very much for such a kind introduction. I am very much honored to be on this platform of Tolani for the first time. And I've heard about this for a very long time. So thank you very much for inviting me. And just one caveat, I am no expert on blue economy. I'm also a mere student like everyone else because the topic is very vast. And I will explain to you how the blue economy, as to what I have understood. And idea of this, delivering this kind of lectures is, I do these lectures in many institutes as well, to flare the young minds, take them to a absolutely different kind of, they call it, beyond SOLAS kind of curriculum, where they can, think out of the box and probably come to the, some kind of a contribution to the national purpose. Dignitaries of the panel, Captain P.S. Barve, Captain Iyer, and all the students, faculties of TMI, and moreover, the participants of this TransTech 21. Good morning to you all. Thank you very much. I will share my screen. If you can stop sharing your screen, then I will share my screen. Let's begin with this very new topic, which has been deliberated very highly in India today on all ministerial platforms, because there is so much to take from it. There is so much of scope in order to, not for shipping, not for just shipping, but also for other sectors which are into, ocean resources. So I'm going to give you a broad perspective of blue economy. I'm not going to speak about any particular sector, but I'm very happy to speak in this kind of a webinar, because the theme, efficient shipping on cleaner oceans, this is very important. And the cleaner ocean is the kind of thing I will emphasize a bit more, because this is the need of the hour. And to start with my first quote, as we need to have a clean ocean because there is only one ocean. There are no 2 or 3 oceans. Maybe the names are different, but on the earth, we only have one ocean. As Captain Master has rightly said, what is it? I mean, this is the first question comes to everybody's mind. What is blue economy, and why is the term called so? A bit of explanation there. You can read it, but I will explain to you in a very extempore manner that everything that you can make sense out of oceanic resources comes under blue economy. So all the ocean activities, and as we've been doing the activities from very long time on ocean now, the most important point here could be a sustainable kind of activities where activities of today will not hamper generations which are coming tomorrow. So blue economy also draws policies that determine whether the use of oceanic resources is sustainable. We have traditionally ocean uses as well as the new emerging sectors which are coming up like seabed mining, bioprospecting, aquaculture, and renewable energy, which are most important and which can contribute to the national grid of economy. After all, we are trying to explore the ocean, explore the resources of ocean in a sustainable manner because we want to contribute to the national grid of economy and take it in the most sustainable way. But this is blue economy is again not a standalone effort. The actions of one country, since we have only one ocean in the world, on the planet Earth, the actions of one country, one nation for exploration, for exploitation, or for learning purposes of ocean can also hamper others and small island developing states which are around us. So it's very important to have a collaboration across the nation states. And that is also a part of the blue economy, that we do a collaborative efforts in this. Let's look at the background of blue economy. When I say background, the term may be new to us today, but we've been, our human life has been oceanic centric for a very long time. The fishing or the fish, which is a major protein supplement, has been around for 40,000 years. The concept of transport on water, which we use the ocean for, has been there for last 40,000 years. 7,500 BC, sorry. The concepts of ports have been about 4,500 BC. And we've been doing shipbuilding and watercraft building activities since 3,500 BC. So blue economy and its, uses of ocean are not new to us. But what have you taken from it? How have we explored it is what I'm going to explain to you. Why is so the blue economy important, or what are the things that do we know about blue economy? These are all very common things, and since I am delivering this lecture mostly to the students, I would like to bring this emphasis on the, though it is called as planet Earth, the 70% of it is water and ocean. So it should have been called planet ocean. It is centric to human life. 80% of the world population lives around coastal region. It is a major transport highway. We know the oil extraction and mineral extraction happening from the offshore fields. And 90% of the world trade moves by the sea routes. But the oceans are also a greater carbon sinks. 93% of the Earth's CO2 is stored, absorbed, cycled through oceans. And that is what we need to care about. These are also virtual heat sink, and they are very rich in biodiversity. In one of the recent papers which was published by the World Economic Forum, that 95% of the ocean is yet not known to us. Such is the biodiversity in ocean. What we know about the seabeds and what we know about the plantation under the water or life below water, that is what one of the Sustainable Development Goals are, is only 5% is known to us so far. But the important part here is that the oceans are not unending resources. All human activities have impacted oceans and their health. Now, is it right? This has come under a huge criticism in last decade or two or so, and various organizations are working on it to have the cleaner oceans. The definitions of economy are various. They are pretty complex. Subject is complex, has a very vast application. Since we are dealing about the ocean, which is 70% of the Earth's surface. The term may be new to you, as I told you earlier, but if you look at it, it was first mentioned in an economic kind of viability or philosophy by Dr. Gunther Pauli in 1994 in United Nations University. And thereafter in 2010, he wrote a book on blue economy, 10 years, 100 innovations and 100 million jobs. Very aptly, very rightly has, pressed the nerve of the world that there are, in next 10 years, that is 2010 to 2020, we have 100 innovations waiting to be explored on the blue economy, and there are 100 million jobs which can be generated out of this. So is the importance of blue economy. World Bank, European Commission, Commonwealth nations, United Nations have all given the definitions. And I'm very proud to say, if you see the draft policy on the blue economy, which has recently been published by Government of India, very rightly the panel of experts and a working group of blue economy has decided that every nation has to draw upon its own definition of blue economy. What do you want from these resources? That's very important. Two important words here in all definitions which are common, which is sustainable development of resources. And most important is the concepts which are emerging out of this, on the blue economy. Prime Minister Modi's quote was read by Captain Iyer, and which had a very important word called blue revolution. So this attempt is to flare those young minds which can really look into, this kind of a revolution, come out with, various ideas they might have as to how to use, sustainably our ocean and blue capital or blue resources. The sectors of blue economy, of course, the transportation of cargo and passenger has been there around, and we've been using it extensively. It comes under criticism also because of some shipping practices. Coastal tourism, offshore oil and gas exploration has been going on all over the world. In fact, 30% of the hydrocarbon energy comes out of offshore oil and gas. Fisheries, aquaculture, all over the world, demands of fishes are increasing. So we have switched on to the aquaculture and mariculture also, which is also very important for protein supplement. Inland waterways transport. By the way, it's not only our ocean. Huh? When you say blue economy, it is also about the all water resources. So when we see cleaner oceans, we also should see the waterways, the lakes, the rivers, the estuaries which are connected, creeks which are connected to the oceans, which need to be clean as well. Offshore energy, it's one of the very emerging field today. Renewable energy, the most green energy is the ocean energy today. Excuse me. Biotechnology is a very emerging science today, and which is connected to the oceans. Desalination, the scarcity of water, which can be fulfilled by desalination plants of converting ocean water into a fresh water. Marine mining is kind of a field which requires more of a research and more of an exploration, because sustainability is under question there. And monitoring and surveillance, that's called as ocean governance, and of course the coastal protection. These are the blue economy sectors which currently the India is working on, and of course the developed countries in the world are also looking at this kind of thing. So looking at the entire picture, you would see the blue economy is envisaged as an integration of a water-based economy, including inland water body, ocean economy, development with the principle of social inclusion, environmental sustainability, innovative and dynamic business models. Now, this is one thing which is very important for the students, that these will create, these ideas will create a very good, innovative, dynamic business models for the students which are interested in this and which we want to take this forward as their one of the career options. Why is blue economy important? Why do we need to worry about the oceans and oceanic health? Because globally, 1 out of 10 livelihoods are dependent upon fisheries. When I say fisheries, means fish eating population is about, we have 7.3, 7.5 billion people in the world. So 1/10 of the population is depending upon the fish directly as a protein. The ocean economy will double to $6 trillion, comparing to Indian economy today of 2.5, $2.6 trillion. Ocean economy has the potential of $6 trillion. So much of wealth is there if it is explored properly, and added to the national grid. 90% of goods are internationally traded by ships, by ocean routes. Oceanic tourism industry is growing very fast in the world today. Due to the pandemic, now all the oceanic tourism has come to the standstill and is halted. But this, by till 2019, and the tourism industry, the cruise lining industry was thriving. As I told you, the oceans are the largest carbon sink on the earth. They take about 93% of the carbon dioxide is being recycled. And the small island development states, which are the small islands which are predominantly and particularly dependent on the oceanic resources, and the coastal states, which are very particularly reliant on the fish protein. Like, Japan is not a small island state, but their main food is fish. So that is why the cleaner oceans are needed, and this is why the exploration of blue economy is needed. Moreover, if you see the marine transport and coastal tourism adds to about 5% of the global GDP, 7% of the global employment, and 20, if you take the first top 20 cities, mega cities, the 13 of them are coastal. So is the presence of the human population on or near the ocean. Marine bioresources, I told you, 4.3 billion people, that is, they supply 15% of annual supply of protein. And that's a huge amount of protein coming out of this is not only the fish, but also as I told you about the biotechnology, protein tablets, everything else. And as only 30% of the global gas and oil and gas extracted out of the ocean. So 30% of hydrocarbon energy, which is given by the ocean to us. But this ocean, as rightly goes with your Transtech 21 theme about cleaner oceans, this ocean does face many risks. One of the biggest risks is the climate change. Human actions which have triggered the climate change have affected ocean health a lot. This has affected fisheries, their production. The ocean acidification has led to destruction of a lot of habitats or life underwater. Overexploitation of fisheries, irregulated, not controlled fishing has also hampered the life underwater and the fishing and fish stocks. The scarcity of sustainable aquaculture production models. Let me explain you a bit this. All these aquaculture models are situated on the estuaries and the creeks. They are also called as mariculture, kind of projects where because the fish demand in the world is so high that we don't get the entire supply done by the ocean catches. So we need to have the aquaculture in China, in Japan, in all the countries where the fish is a major food source. A lot of aquacultural plants are there, and these production models get affected by the pollution. Pollution jeopardizes tourism, fisheries, seafood safety. Let me tell you about pollution something. We talk about pollution so much. I mean, we all have being shippies, and you guys who are going to go to sea again now, after your education completes in institutes, you're going to see the MARPOL as one of the biggest focus and hover around you, over you for the compliance. But let me tell you one thing, and it has been proved fact, that 90% of the oceanic pollution happens due to the land, because of the land-based resources. The many aquaculture production units have failed because of the runoff of agricultural waste, fertilizer, chemical fertilizers, industrial waste, which runs into the rivers, into the canals, which eventually meet the sea. So all those pollutions amount to about 90%. I mean, it is really very serious that before we get out of the shipping, we should get out of the land-based resources which are creating pollution as well. I'm being blunt about it. The world has focused on the ocean very much, and the UN, has recently come out with in 2015 the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. One of the goals, which is goal number 14, is about life below water. As I told you, 95% of the ocean is not known to us. So rightly so, the conserve and sustainably use the ocean, seas, and marine resources for sustainable development is basically a title of Sustainable Development Goal 14. But the irony is such that we wake up very late. A lot of there's a term which is used in shipping circle called sea blindness, and I'm trying to make this presentation so people open up their eyes towards the sea and know what the ocean has to offer you. When the UN came out with in 2000 the Millennium Development Goals, there was no mention of ocean at all. So such was the irony of our oceanic outlook that the world has to take towards the ocean economy. Let's look at the blue capital of India. We have a coastline of 7,516 kilometers, exclusive economic zone of 2.4 million square kilometers. We have 1,208 islands. We have brackish water, rivers, canals, dams. All these can be used for as a very prominent resource to add to the blue economy. Floodplain lakes, which are not small, but these are all into billion hectares. And we need to see as to what can be done to explore this. Of course, the government of India is has now come out with the draft policy on blue economy. And of course, the expert committees interministerial committees meetings are happening. So we will definitely see something coming up in next 4 to 5 years, a very concrete plan. As I told you, India came out with the definition of blue economy as they rightly identified that despite all the definitions which are given by the world and European Commission, World Bank, and etc. for their own purposes, India needs to define, the blue economy, and very rightly and aptly worded. India should strive for an efficient, sustainable utilization of ocean resources and to integrate, boost ocean-related capabilities, capacities, and skill with a view to accelerate employment, gross value addition, and while safeguarding the environment in harmony with the UN SDG. UN SDG is at goal number 14, life below water. Importantly here is the skill, and that's where the maritime institutes can step in to develop this capacity and skill among the skilled manpower, where they can contribute to the blue economy sectors. As rightly said by Dr. Guntur Pauli, 100 million jobs. I'm sure he was talking about the world, 100 million jobs. And I'm sure there are 100 million jobs waiting in India itself, for if you really flourish the blue economy sectors. India also has an action plan of significantly enhancing contribution of blue economy to Indian GDP. Of course, when the sectors, all sectors, they explode well, definitely it'll mean money, it'll mean hard cash, and it'll add to the national India's GDP. As very important to do an inclusive thing with the coastal communities, India's action plan also is to improve the lives of coastal communities. Sagarmala is one of the initiatives which has got the inclusion of coastal communities and improvement in coastal communities, port-led developments and things like that. Biodiversity, as we don't know what is there much under the ocean, but whatever is knowledgeable at the moment, we need to preserve our biodiversity. Very importantly, in the agenda by 2030, which has come out under the SDG 14, India has to also declare 10% of its exclusive economic zone as marine protected areas. And these are under identification now. And of course, security. We are very friendly neighbors on our country. So marine security is absolutely our focus. So that is also one of the action plans of India. What they have done so far about blue economy. This is just to give you an idea as to we are going in the right track. And we are there, but the government of India is still waiting for maritime fraternity to get included, to contribute to it. And mind you, I mean, maybe 1994, Gudra Pauli brought out the oceanic economic philosophy, but we created a ocean Department of Ocean in 1981. Sagarmala and Bharatmala projects, which have got very extensive development programs of the port, and which are going to use the IT-enabled services for modernizing port, is also one of the very big contributory factors of coastal community development, port-led development for the blue economy. OSMART is one of the umbrella scheme, what they have come up with: ocean services, modeling, application, resources, and technology. The most important and best part of the whole thing is that blue economy has been given to the Ministry of Earth Sciences, because this is all about the ocean, all about the seabed, all about the exploration, not only transportation over water, not only tourism. So if you want to explore the emerging sectors, we need to have the ministry which will lead this as very aptly Ministry of Earth Sciences. CEZs have been developed, and Sagarmala, of course, being a nodal agency for that. They're developing townships and industries around the port, so the hinterland connectivity is good. And like your special economic zones, they are coastal economic zones which have been developed by India. As rightly said about Blue Revolution in Prime Minister's Court in 2015 in Mauritius, there's something called as Blue Growth Initiative. Now, this is particularly focused on the fisheries policies, because one of the webinars I said that the Indian Ocean is the only ocean where the fishes die of old age, because our capabilities of fish catchments are very less. Our modernization of fishing, trawlers and fishing vessels is very less. So to increase that, we need to have a very bold kind of action plan, and Blue Growth Initiative gives that bold action plan with only fisheries at its center and core. As I rightly said, and also aptly done by MOES, Ministry of Earth Sciences, a nodal agency for all the national policy on blue economy. Way ahead, what needs to be done by maritime fraternity or the students of this esteemed gathering? What you can take home from the understanding of blue economy is that we need to have this subject. I mean, may not be under the curriculum of BSc Nautical Science or BE Marine Tech or something like that, but in your personal agenda to study about the blue economy, study about the ocean, know more about them, know more about the exploration. And of course, the government of India is looking at forming an expert group. So even faculties who have got the inclination towards the blue economy, towards the ocean-centric kind of economy, they can contribute, be a part of the expert group of Government of India. I mean, put your knowledge on table. They're also looking at developing scientific tools and methodologies, because, India is a very poor country in terms of collection of data. Now, when I say this, I mean, of course, it carries a lot of weightage, because we have seen that, even in this pandemic, we are struggling with the data of how many people are affected and how many are recovered. So the government definitely needs to do a development of scientific tools and methodologies to measure as to what each sector has got, what potential is there in each sector. And that is where the maritime fraternity or, people who are attached to the maritime field, whether on ship, ashore, in industry, which are attached to the maritime industry, in fisheries, wherever it is, they can contribute. Periodical studies on specific sectors are already commenced. The separate chapter on blue trade is going to be included into the export-import policy now, as we talked about coastal economic zone, so these zones also will be dedicated to the export import of the blue, kind of material or oceanic material or resources for that matter, which can be processed like fish. I mean, the fishing or the mining sector or the renewable energy. The skill development is one of the big on the agenda because a lot of people don't know about it. A lot of maritime people don't know about it. So we need to, the maritime institutes can come forward to, contributing to the skill development on these subjects and the sectors subjects, which can be really enhancing to the blue growth. Educational programs are also on the cards of Government of India. This is one of the very important and very close topic to my heart, as well as the launching of this plan is happening. After taking the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan to the world, also in India, of course, to implement, but the impression of Swachh Bharat in the world was great. I mean, country of 1.3 billion population to even think and start something like this was very important. And now India is putting this program into UN, which will make India a leader like what it has been to the Solar Alliance and things like that. Swachh Bharat to Swachh Prithvi and Swachh Sagar. Because the concept behind this one earth is one ocean. And India is definitely going to put heads together and come out with a plan which will really constitute into a Swachh Sagar, pollution-free Sagar, which is very apt with your Transtech scheme. And I'm very thankful to the organizers that they came out with a theme of such a bold, objective. And this is being taught to the students right off there before they go on ship. So they have a maritime consciousness, ocean consciousness, which is being built up right then and there. 80% of marine pollution from the land-based sources, I told you, as industrial effluents, the agricultural runoffs, the soil itself, and the chemical use in fertilizers, pesticides. These are the biggest contribution. The unique and holistic vision to human industrial waste management strategies. Very rightly, Captain Iyer in his inaugural speech said that the pollution or a waste management has to be on everybody's agenda. I would suggest they should teach waste management at a school level, like we teach the traffic signals. Well, this has to be an integral part of the entire life of a human being. It is ironical that everybody else manages their waste very well, and we just can't manage our waste at all. We just throw it around from this place to other place and other place to other place. It just accumulates. The entire circular economy is now based on waste management, and circular economy has become a part of all the logistics, the businesses and warehousing businesses. It should also become a part of shipping business. I mean, of course, we have a reception facilities for the oil, sludge, and garbage, but many ports still don't have it. We have to understand this very well, and waste management should become our second nature. Make India the first nation globally to initiate such a vision. As I said, Swachh Bharat was a vision and which was successfully implemented. Now we see many of the cities clean. And similarly, if India can take this Swachh Bharat to Swachh Prithvi and Swachh Sagar to the international level, I am definitely sure that India will be a leader in its way and really put across the measurable, tangible kind of parameters to the countries, which can be measured with the ocean cleanliness or their river cleanliness and things like that. Conclusion on blue economy. I got 2 more slides to go. Very importantly, as we saw, I mean, this was a very broad perspective. I can do a lecture on each sector as well, but just to give you a broad perspective, it has a great potential. It can really be a contributor to our dream of 5 trillion economy of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. It has extensive potential to make India maritime prowess. So this is very important. Why again to go for a blue economy? Because it will give you maritime consciousness. It will give you a maritime character. And we need to build this maritime character because everything is happening through the ocean. As we said, 90% of the goods are being transported by ocean does not mean the goods that we don't need. From morning hour toothbrush to toothpaste to evening bed sheets, and even the cold cream that we apply before sleeping, all is transported by shipping. So this has to go into a land lubbers, awareness programs, and the outlook should start from sea to land. That should happen. The many sectors of blue economy have not been tapped. We have seen broader prospecting is one of the sectors which is working. Seabed mining has not been tapped. Renewable energy is still under consideration. And these are sectors, they have a lot of huge potentials for foreign direct investment into our country and can really boost the Indian economy. For small, medium scale enterprises, it has got a lot of potential because when you have a coastal economic zone, port-led development, and all skill development for that, which are going to serve maritime sectors is going to happen there. So a lot of scope for them as well. And blue economy will definitely, if it is done in a right manner, will definitely contribute to the sustainable growth, and social equity is very important. There is a difference in living standards of a coastal person and a landlocked person. Those equitable or those kind of balances can be easily filled up by the blue economy if the sectors are really explored well. Last slide. I want to put this slide up to you all, for you all to think, flare your young minds, include yourself into these programs of blue economy on your own, think, study, write, and really, talk about it among your friends, among your school, college friends. Deliberate on these ocean economic resources. Tell them about the oceans. Tell them about the rivers. Tell them about the use of it. Tell them how to protect them. Maritime students, institutes can also develop technical expertise on conservation and sustainable development. We can rope in experts. I would request colleges to rope in local experts who has done study on since you're located in Pune, on Mutha River, and give a lecture to the students on this. So more awareness can be brought in about the own river which is situated next to us. Creating holistic and integrated approach for all sectors in society. This is maritime awareness, creation of maritime awareness. Creates research methodology and talent in shipping. I'm very happy to see, yesterday I was there in the whole day's program, and I saw the presentations done by the students. I was really, very impressed. This is where we have to showcase to the world that we are not only creating operators out of maritime institutes, but we are also going to produce maritime researchers. We are going to produce the maritime scientists, which can show the world a better way. And we have Indians, placed all over the world in running shipping companies and running the shipping businesses. But this talent in shipping has to be recognized. Be one of the talents, you as a students of such an esteemed organization, esteemed institute. Creation of talent required for implementation SDGs. SDG, by writing it on the paper and by putting the goal of 2030, it's not going to happen unless you really have, somebody working on it. There's a skill set available in the country which will work on SDG and study about the life below water. Maritime cultural exchanges. There's something called as Project Mausam. I don't know how many of you all know about it. Study about it. There are so many cultural exchanges the Indians had 2,000, 3,000 years BC. That is all is forgotten now because we are not documented it. Even they're documented, we don't even know about it. So the maritime cultural exchanges, we have 38 countries on the Indian Ocean rim, and we have hardly any contacts with them. We don't have hardly any cultural exchanges with them. So there could be a maritime cultural exchange as well. Growth of maritime consciousness, creating knowledge on blue economy. This is where the entire crux lies. Maritime consciousness, is a responsibility of everyone, not only government's responsibility. We being maritime charactered person, we should talk about, maritime consciousness to our friends, our colleagues, our families, our relatives, and be a maritime person all the time. not only when you're on a ship or when you're on, learning in an institute, but you should be a maritime, and this is how the maritime character develops. If you see a doctor, if you see a pharmacist, or if you see a scientist, of Baba Research Center, they talk about it continuously. They talk about it. So we come to know a lot of things from them. I don't see a maritime personnel talking about maritime, knowledge to the people who are on the land or who work in the factories and things like that. We should do that. And again, creating the knowledge based on the economy is very important. Will be very fruitful. I think this is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for being a very patient listener to this presentation.
Thank you, sir. I mean, absolutely brilliant. Very, very informative. In spite of spending more than half my life at sea, I just realized how little I know. So thank you very much. But now that we have you with us, we are going to take full advantage of it and pick your brains for a few questions and answers, if you're okay with that.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. I'm all for it because I do it on my personal level as well. To the schools and colleges. And the pandemic has really helped me in taking this to the 5th standard, 6th standard, 7th standard boys and girls. Yeah. They don't even know about why it is called as blue economy. I mean, it's a basic question of why the sky is called blue. It's kind of so it's kind of that kind of stuff. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and I'm very, very, very happy. And I can see a lot of dignitaries are listening to this. I hope I did justice to the topic. I'm also a student myself. I'm no expert in this field, but definitely I'm getting involved into ocean energy now with few of the corporates, the players, and we'll surely have something on Indian coast going on. Thank you very much.
Lovely, sir. No, sir, we're not leaving you yet.
No, I'm here.
You yet. So just for all the participants, I know I can see a lot of questions popping up in the chat box. Please ask your questions in the question and answer section. So then we can have Captain Karanjikar address them. So my first question to you is from Shikhar Parsai. His question is that we have this whole network of inland rivers, waterways, etc. However, one of the challenges is that the depth is not sufficient for ships to transport freight. So how do you propose we tackle this?
See, the initiatives that we are taking about the inland waterways are really good. But you see, India being the agricultural country, we have to understand that a lot of the rivers are not perennial rivers. So many rivers run dry during the summers and kind of winters. So later part of the winter and the summer. So as long as the depth is concerned, of course, there are talks of having a shallow water barges and being made, and where the navigable depth of water is available, at least that we can use. I mean, there are about 111 national waterways being planned. 80,000 crore rupees have been pledged already by the government on this, and we already have National Waterway 1, National Waterway 3 up and running. So idea is to take the cues from them, learn from it, and take it ashore, take it to the other waterways. But the most important part here is the economic feasibility and viability. And as rightly the question is asked that the rivers are not navigable, how the economic viability will come? But at least to the point they are navigable, we can do that. Use the local talent, use local people. It's our coast and in my inland waters, so we can have our own set of regulations. We don't need to have a foreign going certification kind of seafarers for that. Terminals, I mean, the way the China has gone aggressively over it, from the financing to the execution, we should look at that kind of model and prepare those those kind of vessels or crafts which can transport goods.
Wow, absolutely, a lot of untapped potential. Next question for you, sir, is just if you could briefly explain how does the oceans recycle CO2, because you mentioned it being the sink.
Ocean recycle carbon dioxide.
Carbon dioxide, yes.
Yeah. See, a lot of plants, I mean, they call us planktons, which are under the sea. They absorb the carbon dioxide for their growth and photosynthesis from the ocean water. So ocean definitely has to suck that carbon, from the atmosphere. So that is why we say the ocean transportation is more pollution free, because even for the ships for that matter. But nobody has done this study so far. my entire agony is that even I'm not done study myself. I mean, I'm not a scientist anyway. But I would like the scientists to do this study and come up with the solution as to how much of a emission from the ship is absorbed by the ocean itself. That will be a very, very right parameter we have. Of course, other pollutants also are there, like sulfur and all that. Before those regulations are coming up now, I mean, already in force. But this ocean, the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is sucked in by the water and of course absorbed by this planktons which are on the seabed. You know, the reefs, even the coral reefs, they require a lot of carbon dioxide for their growth.
Thank you, sir. We'll take 2 more questions with your permission. First one is from Shishir Dutt. He's a faculty at TMI. He says, as you rightly said, you know, we should be teaching waste management and curbing pollution at the school level. Has anything been already, you know, put in place by the government with regard to this in the education policy? Are you aware of anything?
See, the waste management is the question, right? Curbing pollution. Absolutely. Yeah, see, I mean, lot of schools are now teaching about segregation of waste and segregation of garbage and things like that. It is coming up. But you know, we have to go a little advanced to the circular economy. What economic value? Because, you know, I always remember one thing. I mean, today's materialistic world, everybody from the birth onward understands the money part of it, you know. So if the schools can really put money to it, so much of waste is recycled, we got so much of money. Or so much of waste is not recycled, we lost so much of money. If they can have that kind of education to the children, there'll be more awareness. There'll be more seriousness. You know, merely teaching a topic of waste management is one part of it. You know, but teaching that, taking it to the end, to circular economy is very important. And circular economy is one of the very, very top hot topics in today's MBA programs. I teach at IIM. So we just concluded a session about 2 weeks back about circular economy. I did 3 sessions with the MBA students in IIM Indore. And the idea was to teach them as to what is the exact value that you can add. And again, you know, going green logistics as to why not to use those kind of stuff. The education should start from there. I should not bring in a silver foil wrapped sandwich to the school because the silver foil has to go in the waste again. So parents, teachers need to encourage that, don't bring it to school, bring it in a plastic box. Bring it in a recyclable plastic box. Right. Nothing happens to it, I mean, you know. That kind of education is needed.
Okay, nice. Thank you, sir. So our final question is from another faculty, Captain Nagarkar. It's just an extension of this. He says, his question basically is, okay, as a training institute, how can we, you know, extend this education and train our students with the same, you know, broader on blue economy and pollution prevention further?
See, there are many courses can be developed on blue economy sectors. Like, you know, I tell you, where I live in Nasik, they're about 20 kilometers from my place where I live, in 20-kilometer radius, there are about 90 water bodies. 90 water bodies lying idle. Nothing is happening there. There's no aquaculture happening there. There's no fish growth happening there. Nothing is happening. You know, only water is being tapped out for the agricultural purposes or, you know, supplying from one dam to other dam. So really, I mean, I was talking to one of the institutes in Nasik also. So why can't we develop, why does have to, the Institute of Fisheries situated in Kochi or in Chennai or in Visakhapatnam have to do these fisheries courses? We can teach them as well. Right. I mean, fish farming is no alien task. This can be easily taught. And other sectors, you know, we can bring in awareness with people because the inland waterways will require a lot of skill set people, a lot of terminal managers. You know, the new concept which is coming up of multimodal logistic park. Each park, multimodal logistic park, will take 7,000 people, you know, from executive to manager. Now, where the 7,000 people are going to come from? They have to come from somewhere. And more the skilled people are involved, more better it is. You know, it's all going to handle the containers and cargoes and break bulk cargoes and, you know, the agricultural produce from multimodal logistic park. They need to have a knowledge of water, road, rail, and air. So we can create this kind of skill set, and of course project it to the National Development of Skill Council, and say that we are teaching these subjects in our institute. It's a chicken and egg situation. I mean, we need to put the first foot forward as an institute. I'm saying, you know, I mean, of course, Tolani has very high reputation. I mean, as Dr. Tolani said in his inaugural speech, you know, he had a bug about the education from his father. So same thing in my mind. It is about the bug in my mind about blue economy and creating awareness and education. You know. So it's all about that bug which will promote or push the institutes to really deliver what is so far undeliverable. You know, kind of.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much for your time. Actually, there are still some more questions, but I want to stick to the schedule. So for all of those who have asked questions and your questions are unanswered, Captain Karanjikar is very active on social media. He has a YouTube channel. I've seen him on LinkedIn, etc. So I'm sure you'd be okay with me telling them to, you know, contact you.
Sure. Please pass on my contact details. I'm very happy to guide anyone and everyone on this subject. Whatever I know, of course, I don't know much about it. I don't have practical experience yet, which I will start now with the ocean energy. But of course, you know, I'll be very happy to help someone.
And we're waiting for the books also.
Sure, sir. December this year. It'll take time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm going to be around. I want to see the research papers, so I'm going to be around till 1 o'clock.
Of course. We won't let you go. Thank you very much. Guys, can we show some love and appreciation to Captain Karanjikar? One moment, almost done. Okay, thank you. Hitesh, over to you.
I'd like to thank our judges, Mr. Arvind Kumar, Mr. Anand Thakur, and Mr. Shailendra Kumar for the insightful questions and for agreeing to be a part of this successful event. Also thanking Dr. Anjali Deshpande for contributing your valuable time in chairing our third and final technical session, ensuring a smooth communication between the presenters and the judges. With this, we have come to the end of our third technical session.
It often puts me in a state of deep thinking when I experience these presentations. Only a person who thought for weeks and months can put this much of logic and connect these dots to envision something so unconventional. This was my third year, and it is continuing in the TransTech's anchoring team. And I can proudly say that this particular TransTech, being in the webinar format, was no less. It was equally enjoyable, and the technical sessions were great. These three technical sessions have been illuminative and informative. I am sure that everyone who has been attending them would have grasped some valuable knowledge. The day 2 of TransTech is about to be concluded, but tomorrow we have something entirely different. Not just the papers, TransTech also gives an opportunity to the students to showcase a working model of their idea. That is exactly what is going to be displayed. Be ready to experience some marvelous working models. Join at 9:30 a.m. tomorrow to witness day 3 of TransTech. At the end, I would request Captain Indranath Banerjee to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Hitesh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable guest speaker, Captain Karanjikar, our most valued invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, and of course, my dear cadets. It is my privilege to have been asked to perform the act of proposing the vote of thanks on this occasion. First, I would like to profusely thank Captain Karanjikar for making it convenient to grace this occasion and delivering his truly pace-setting and very perceptive address. Sir, your illuminating account of the blue economy clearly covered the entire spectrum from one ocean, one earth to Swachh Prithvi, Swachh Sagar. The concept of ensuring sustainable use of ocean resources for economic growth and contribution towards the national economic grid remained the underpinning theme of the presentation. Starting from 40,000 years ago, sir, you covered the entire canvas by emphasizing the importance of blue economy, the risks of such development, the focus of the Government of India, and concluding by guiding the young marine cadets on how to increase their maritime consciousness. Listening to you and listening to the vibrant Q&A session, question and answer session later on, I'm sure that your thoughts and perspectives have inspired the cadets and thus made this webinar a truly high impact event. Thank you very much, sir. I wish to express my gratitude to Dr. Anjali Deshpande and Dr. Sudhir Sindagi, not only for marshalling their sessions so competently and also providing encouragement to the young speakers. A tough job, very well executed. Sudhir sir, you were hit by technical glitches, but you were resolute and you pulled off the session magnificently despite limited resources. As James Bond would have said, shaken but not stirred. Anjali ma'am, exemplary conduct of the session, especially the way you took charge when the presenters faced technical problems. Excellent job. But the reason I'm saying it is because that both of you showed us practically how the greatest impediment to a virtual webinar could be overcome. And for that, a big thank you to both of you. I extend a very hearty vote of thanks to all the paper presenters for participating in this technical festival with your important work and sharing with us your findings and opinions today. In the same breath, I thank the various maritime institutes who guided these young minds. A huge thanks to Anglo-Eastern Maritime Academy, Great Eastern Institute of Maritime Studies, Hindustan Institute of Maritime Training, Maharashtra Academy of Naval Education and Training, and of course, the Indian Maritime University campuses of Mumbai and Kolkata. A very sincere and heartfelt thanks to the three gentlemen who have been given the toughest job of the day, our respected judges, Mr. Arvind Kumar, Mr. Anand Thakur, and Mr. Shalendra Kumar. I salute you. I thank the Institute of Marine Engineers Pune branch and also the Institution of Engineers Pune Local Center for their enormous cooperation in organizing of this event. It would not have been possible to hold an event of such scale and magnitude, especially in these trying times, without the sincere and untiring efforts of my colleagues at TMI, be it the IT staff, the admin personnel, the volunteer cadets, or the organizing committee members. I thank each and every one of you for this event. To the MCs, the magicians of the ceremony, for conjuring of the illusions by lines and images, Rahul, Kevin, Hitesh, Sanami. All I will say that yesterday, you were too good. Today, you are even better. Maybe because I was not there. Great job, guys. Love you. Last but never ever the least, my cadets attending the webinar. I can't deny that I was hoping that many more would have been attending. But yes, to those who were attending, thank you. And I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, but more importantly, learned from it. After all, experience is the best teacher, and let nobody ever tell you otherwise. This experience should have been a game changer for all those of you attending, and I'm sorry for those who have missed out on this occasion. And if you don't believe me, trust Gulzar. Everybody sends his messages on WhatsApp. And remember when he said, "Bahut kuch sikhaya zindagi ke safar anjane mein, bahut kuch sikhaya zindagi ke safar anjane mein." वो किताबों में दर्ज था ही नहीं, वो किताबों में दर्ज था ही नहीं जो सबक पढ़ाया ज़माने में. And this experience, I'm sure you will take you very, very, very far. So ladies and gentlemen, without wasting any more time, once again, I wish to state that we are most grateful to all the speakers and panelists. We thank you for being with us here this morning. It's been a great pleasure. So till we meet again, as Hitesh said, tomorrow, Friday, 30th April, 0930 sharp. Stay well, stay safe. Thank you. Jai Hind.